Hello friends, it is a Sunday. I'm Phoebe if you're new, and I am roping you in to hang out with me today to help distract me from a job interview I have in a few days. I have my first interview for a proper position in a library. It's a library technician job at a private boys' school, but it's unique and an awesome opportunity in the sense it's specifically for people who are still studying the diploma that I'm studying, and it wasn't publicly advertised, it was just passed along to the course coordinators of the library diploma I'm doing. And 3 hours a week, honestly, even though this job isn't round the corner, knowing me and my need to pace myself and how well I do when they're like gentle stepping stones to where I want to be, yeah, it would be great. Oh, the wild ride of actually wanting something. Today though, I need to drive into the city, into Readings, Carlton, to drop off 2 more boxes of books. This is, I don't know, we're nearly at 100 that Readings have sold, and I think this is the result of the short form content that I made during my semester break that I've started posting that seemed to have found the right audience. Yes! But yeah, sales have ticked up again. Feels really good to shift some stock. This is my 3rd print run of an independent published cookbook, if you're new here, and it just feels good to know like I've still got it, that my marketing skills are like still there. I was really looking forward to a quieter week when I found out I got this job interview. So also for 3 hours a week, the only thing I know about the interview is that it will be a panel of 3. Great. But I am so grateful to the job I applied for 3 years ago. I don't know if you remember, for that Stephanie Alexander Kitchen Garden program job, because that was a panel of 5, and that was like learning interview skills by fire, or whatever the phrase is, baptism by fire. And it just was lightly traumatic, but it's like it can't be worse than that, which is kind of reassuring. I know some people have said like, talk about the library diploma more. This past week I finalised my library placement, which is 70 hours compulsory component of the diploma that you have to do to pass. And if you want to do it in a public library, they're like, you should try and organise that yourself. And I also want to do it part-time, not full-time, so I set out early and it's sorted. It's at a public library. They're happy to take me part-time, like I'll do it over 3 weeks instead of 2. It'll still be really draining, I'm sure. I just have not worked like full days, like 9 to 5. I do get an hour off for lunch, and I did find out that you change, like I'll have a roster and I change what I do every hour, which is nice, I think. Or is that task switching? I don't know. Anyway, got good vibes. Did have to answer an impromptu interview question on the spot. She's like, I did put this in the email. And I was like, no. But I did my best and didn't panic, which is the important thing. I've had a lot of thoughts recently about how I feel about being autistic, so I might chat about that in the car today. I'm going to try and pace myself. I think I should get home around lunchtime. And then I want to do some crafty stuff and just have a decent weekend. I don't need to do more than 2 days prep for this interview, so I'm not going to start on that this weekend. This rain is glorious. We absolutely need it. Makes it feel a bit like nighttime. Is anyone else, like, even if it's the most gloomy, overcast middle of the day, still like feel like they want to wear their sunnies when they're driving? Or at least have this down. I'm also seeing everyone in rain jackets, and I don't think it's that cold, but makes me wish I brought an extra layer. But I did bring a top to kind of mend, because I saw someone when they were vlogging their day off, they brought some mending to do to a cafe, and it looked very appealing and like very absorbing. While I can find like reading a little bit tricky in a cafe, or just like turning off the outside world. Anyway, I might try and do that now so I can actually wear the garment just for an extra layer, because it feels very wintry right now. I'm trying to remind myself I'm not in a rush. I can take my time. They're open, but they're open the whole day, and I don't need to get their stat. And if you're wondering, how are you going to deliver these books in the rain, Phoebe? I'm going to go in, see if they have a book that I want, and then ask them if I can just pull up into the lane outside the shop, which they have offered before. But in this weather, I think it's necessary. I absolutely adore this top. You've seen me wear it. It's made out of wool. It's just a really nice breathable layering piece. Somehow there's a hole, and I don't know how it got there. And I think it's going to be a bit tricky to patch up because the knit's quite fine, delicate. I'll try and do that ladder invisible stitch, but I'm prepared for it not to work. I did find a really perfect match thread at Spotlight yesterday though. No! I just lost the needle. I just found it. Okay. I think I was saved by how well the thread was a match, but chuffed to bits. It's not too bad. Well, that was very chill. The person who does know me at readings isn't in today because it's a Sunday, and the trust that was experienced there in the handing over was slightly amusing. Anyway, I'm excited to have my hands on this new book by Zara Butcher McGonigal, Melbourne Chronic Illness, Memoir, Poetry themes. I drove in today without using maps, and that felt like an achievement. I'm just sitting here waiting for my sandwich from Pickle's Milk Bar to be ready. Doing a craft project was a really nice way to relax. That really spoke my language. Am I thinking about my upcoming interview? No. My mission to stay distracted is going well. My attitude about the library diploma recently has been, yep, it's great, I just want to get through it, just want to start working, like, it's great, but like, I'm just itching to like have it be done. When I caught myself saying that for like the third time within a week, I stopped myself to be like, why am I saying that? And I think it's because so much study really does burn me out in a way that's very sneaky. It feels unearned, but it's very intense and very real and affects my psychological well-being and energy levels and all that. But it's a sense of, yeah, I can study, like my discipline, enjoyment of it and ability to do assignments, meet deadlines, blah, 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 is there. It's fine. But there's a sense of it really costs me, and I don't love finding out how much it's gonna cost me. And so far in my life, studying has been more costly than working. So I'm eager to like get through to the working part and start like finding a way to balance my days sustainably doing that rather than keep studying and then getting to my term breaks and thinking I'll be doing lots of other stuff and just being really exhausted. I'm bummed out about, I think it's the lack of off switch with studying. Once I get settled into some sort of work, it's easier to find like an off switch with work. In my like crisis of confidence and like not feeling very good in myself that I talked about in the last video, I think a part of that has to do with how I perceive my neurodivergence really changing compared to like 6 months ago or 12 months ago. I think it's coming up to 3 years now. That's bonkers that I've had an autism diagnosis, coming up to 2 years on ADHD medication. The way I perceive my own neurodivergence, how I experience the world perceiving neurodivergence is so different. I really think, and it was aided by friends and a very affirming algorithm, and yeah, just very lucky in the allied health professionals I had around me, that like the lead up to getting a diagnosis was like, you know, when people put their arms up and form a tunnel, it was like a very gentle journey to there. And so I was really excited to have those labels finally and have that new understanding of myself, and I felt quite like proud. And shame levels were low. And now I saw this excellent TikTok in the lead up that stuck with me, and it was like one thing that had changed for someone who got their autism diagnosis was that they're just not questioning what's going on with them so much because they have this understanding of their brain and how they see the world. So their life experience isn't such a question mark, and they don't spend so much time thinking about themselves, and that's just great, you know? And I certainly relate to that, and I'm not thinking in my head I'm autistic ADHD every day. Like, often I forget. But then there are those like jarring moments where people don't get it, where you like don't disclose to people and they just talk to you as if thinking you're neurotypical, which is, I guess, fair, but their own ignorance comes through, and that's really hurtful. Even people who have really wanted to support me and bought my cookbook, I don't know that it sunk in for them that I'm neurodivergent, even though why would someone write a resource with neurodivergent accommodations if they weren't? And that hurts, won't lie. Then you're seeing that in the news there's like cuts to our disability support system taking place, and like a hate campaign on it to like set up the cultural attitudes in Australia so that the government can get away with this. Hating on the rise of diagnoses, hating on neurodivergence. Like the reporting around neurodivergence and diagnoses and ADHD, like, sometimes gets it right, still relies on and still grabs these such off attention grabbing headlines that do the neurodivergent community such an injustice and are just really rude. Like, they'll start features which might have some wholesome information in it, but with like, so and so got their ADHD diagnosis after watching TikToks. Like, you can do better. Anyway, I think I'm just realizing that yes, it's kind of good when you don't think about your neurodivergence and like your labels, and you don't go about the world thinking about your elbow or whatever. Like, it's just my brain and how I am. But I think I need to hold on to a little bit of what I know to be true for me, so that I have maybe a bit more of a thicker skin or like a guard up when I'm like out in the world, and so it's not such a surprise when those comments or that reporting the political climate does its thing happens. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go pick up my sandwich. Just got home, going to enjoy my cup of tea and my favourite dog breed mug, and some of these, which are really good. They grow on you. They're not peanut or date based, and I feel like chocolate protein snacks usually are one of those, but I'm trying to diversify my snacks. Baby steps. Now for some gentle sewing, in which I alter a jumper I bought new. Ooh, risky, I know. I love the horizontal stripes and the colours are really me, so I have pinned it awkwardly at the bottom. The plan is to keep the like ribbed end and then like attach it further up, so I'm not just like folding it under and hemming it. And the aim is just to create a more like boxy shape, I think with like a white tee underneath. It'll be really nice and versatile. The brand is Sea Salt Cornwall, who have lots of nice stripes at the moment. And for someone who loves stripes before this like oversized boxy stripe fetish of the fashion world began, the stripes I've seen them do are a bit more functional. It's just that they're for older women's sizes, so they're a lot longer and not a little bit boxy. Anyway, it'll be one of my first knit hemming jobs and we'll see how it goes. Even if it's a bit messy, it's such a busy pattern, mistakes should be hidden-ish. For 2 weeks in a row now, I've had 2 Sundays where I've somehow arranged for there to be like no freelance work, honey bunch of onion tops work, real like housework that I have to do. Went to lunch on the other side of the city with a new writer friend last Sunday. That was beautiful. And I had the like, oh, I'm tired, I think I want to wrap it up moment at like the 2-hour mark. And then after like brunch, we were gonna check out the secondhand bookshop. The fact that I didn't have anything else on that day really allowed me to like carve out some extra energy from somewhere, because I did want to continue the hang. I don't see this person very often, and I was like, Phoebe, you have nowhere to be. It's okay. I'm really glad I went to the secondhand bookshop, found a new favourite book of the year, which I'll show you later. And similar today, I was like, you don't have to go into the bookshop straight away. Just take your time. I have so much built in like anxiety about sticking to the plan, completing the plan. Having a dog that I don't want to leave at home ever above like a certain number of hours, that adds to it. It's worth it. But you know, I don't relate to like just being out and being able to like, what do I feel like now? Like continue mooching around. But I'm actively working on what I can undo that is in here relating to that.
Oh, blow the man down, bullies, blow the man down. Give me way, blow the man down. Blow the man down, bullies, blow them away. Give me some time to blow the man down. We went over the bar on the 13th of May. Way, blow the man down. Right down, we're jumping, the kid came away. Give me some time to blow the man down. As I was walking down Paradise Street.
Well, she does have a bit of wave, a bit of texture. I do think it should calm down a little bit once it's been washed, because the thread kind of resets itself a little bit. Yes, it's not factory made perfect, but I don't care. I like the stripe. It's only 2:30. The day is young. I'm gonna try and get a little bit of rest in, gently plan my tomorrow, read my book, and enjoy the dinner I prepped last night, which was a shepherd's pie, the meat component being half a packet of Impossible mince, a tin of brown lentils, and some Swiss brown mushrooms. And it has a collie potato mash, which I put a bit of vegan cream in, and hooly dooly, it was fab. This book that I'm reading that a friend highly recommended last weekend is just fabulous. It's by a Sydney social worker, counsellor, queer, non-binary, beautiful human being. It's memoir, but like told through chapters around different themes. It's making me fall in love with non-fiction writing again. It's Sydney based, but very nostalgic if you live in Australia. And it's just like quietly hopeful, even while covering really difficult themes and experiences. Seriously, recommend. Tomorrow is Monday, and by the time you're watching this, I will have had the interview, I'm sure, because I have so much to do this week. I'm sure I won't be editing this video before the interview. Heck no. I'm trying to remember all the advice that is relevant around interviews and hold on and channel that as much as, like, I'll be preparing things like if I stutter or like get a bit tongue-tied or just need to think, go a bit blank, I always have the language to help me navigate through that part as well. I'm not going to abandon myself, even if my thoughts do. A dear friend reminded me it's also me interviewing them to see if I like the fit, even if it's super competitive and, you know, all of that hoopla. And I have a good data set for being likable, and I think I come across like fine in interviews, even if it just feels like chaos in my brain in the moment. I've become, once again in my life, quite prone to blushing, which is just so fun. But, you know, older, wiser. The last time this happened a lot, I was doing my undergraduate, speaking of studying, and I really did some like unaided, just like guerrilla psychology work on myself at that time. And like every time I'd contribute in a tute, I'd just go red. And I was like, this is just what happens. Just keep speaking, it'll go away. You can sound confident enough while that happens. You know, if people in an interview aren't accepting that these like human awkwardnesses will happen, then that's on them. My speech path would say, you can't turn off your humanness. Okay, that's my little pep talk to self. Hope I don't have any stress dreams. I can feel my body reacting to the lead up to this interview already. Like, I really need to trim my nails because my neck is more itchy. Yay. And if you're going through it in any way similar to that, I get it. You're doing great. Thank you for hanging out with me. This was really nice. And I'm really looking forward to editing a vlog that is linear in edit. Because I've just done lots of clumpy weekly vlogs and I can't remember the timeline when I go to edit them, and it just takes longer than it needs to. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for being here. Speak to you soon.